Hi. So I'm here to tell you a story that happened, a true story. Both sides are true. The side that I wasn't there for, that happened back in the late 1800s, and the part that I was there for, which happened in the late 1900s. So back then, okay, first off, real quick, I was raised on the Central California coast. Here I am in my Halloween thing. Anyway, I was raised on the Central California coast, and not nowhere near LA. I mean, hundreds of miles north of LA, and far away from any city life. It was very rural. The beaches were quiet beaches, very few people, a lot of sea otters, a lot of seals, seagulls, and seabirds. Clams and crabs. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, and the Highway 1 goes through there. Very windy, very high, down on the cliff, nothing but water, waves crashing up against the side of the cliff over the sharp rocks. And on the other side of the highway, all rolling green hills with wildflowers and oak trees, and further inland, vineyards. But now, in this particular part of the Central Coast where I was raised, there was a village that was very remote, and it was called Adelaide, and it no longer exists. Just the last time I was in Adelaide, nothing left but one part of one building. I think it was the post office and the cemetery, because it's sacred ground. I guess they won't destroy that. Whoever destroyed Adelaide, anyway. But even back when, there wasn't there wasn't a town with very many people. I mean, maybe population of, I don't know, 100, 200 at the most. I don't know, not that very many people at all. And, well, this is a story I heard when I was a kid, that the lady of Adelaide was a woman whose husband had gone away for a short trip. And she was left there alone with her children in the town. And a pandemic of diphtheria came sweeping through, and all of her children died. She lost all her children of the diphtheria. And every day she would go and spend all day, every day in the graveyard in the cemetery with her children's graves, until finally she was so overcome with grief that she actually unalived herself. And so, being as that back then in the 1800s, they weren't allowed to be buried in sacred ground if they unalived themselves, so she had to be buried on the outside. Now, more modern records say that that some kind of thing was going on and she was allowed to be buried inside the cemetery, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's the story. Okay, true story of the lady of Adelaide who lost her children, unalived herself, and the legends say that people have seen her in the cemetery at night, seen her ghost, and that she comes down into the cemetery where her children are, and that she rings a bell. Well, okay, so I guess it was like 1991. We were pretty young, and some friends of mine and we decided to ride out to Adelaide, what was left of Adelaide, and the 1990s, and go on to visit the cemetery, right? And okay, so we went there, and we walked around, and we saw the graves marked of the children, and yeah, it was very sad, and we talked. No, none of us were drinking anything, or no pot, no nothing. I never did any of that anyway. But we just really wanted to have our minds completely clear. We didn't want our minds in any way altered so that we would say, "Oh, well, that was just your brain mind playing a trick on you," or this or that. We were really sincere in our desire to see if we could see or hear anything. So we got, after we talked for a while and it started getting really dark, and we sat back to back, looking out over in each different direction, so that if any one of us saw anything from any direction, we could tell the other ones we see something. Now, we weren't afraid of anybody coming out there. We weren't worried about anybody coming out to play a trick on us, or because nobody would ever go out there. I mean, we were really like We were really the one in a million people that would go out there to the cemetery in the middle of the night like that. But anyway, so we were there, and everything was very silent. Then all of a sudden, the silence was broken by the sound of a beautiful dinner bell. It went like ding, 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 ding. It was very, very clear, undeniable. It was undeniably like a really nice, delicate porcelain dinner bell, maybe crystal glass dinner bell. It was very delicate, very ding, 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 ding. It was just really, 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 really very clear. And Cindy on this side of me, she goes, "Did you guys hear that?" And then James on that side is like, and he was a Marine. He was a tough guy, Marine. Anyway, he was like, "It was a bell." And he got spooked. Now, I suppose that a men are pretty brave. And they can take on any guy. And then any man will take on another guy. Okay, come on, big guy, little guy, fat guy, skinny guy. They'll take each other on. But a guy's not so very brave when he's facing something that he can't see. Something invisible that's ringing a bell. Oh my God. So anyway, James was pretty spooked. And I'm sorry, James, if you're seeing that, that's what you did, okay? Sue me. James would be about, how old would James be? Oh gosh, he'd be like 50s. Oh my gosh, we're getting old. Anyway, so the story is that we did hear the bell. We did hear the bell. We didn't see anything, but we definitely heard the bell ring, just like the legends say. So that's might be kind of spooky to some people, but it was quite an experience. And then I wrote a song about it too. I wrote a song about the legend, the sad legend of Adelaide Hill. Okay, thank you. That's the story for tonight. Have a good one. Come on, turn off. Thing got it. Whoa, rock, 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 rock. Turn.